I'm Lauren from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're passionate.
As a Canadian, I will say that more than likely, I'm just going to get screwed another way. That's the way it always works.
They're knowledgeable.
Maybe that's where life began, on MU-69. We don't know.
And sometimes they're a bit angry.
Skype, I'm breaking up with you. It's not me, it's totally you.
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to episode 204 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I am Stephen Jondrew, and with me, of course, is Chris Ferrell.
Hello, everyone. How are you on this glorious evening?
We've also got with us Stargate Pioneer.
NASA has confirmed that life has evolved on MU-68 and a half.
MU-68 and a half. I can only assume that that's your bedroom?
Well, life has begun in my bedroom.
Too much. Yes, we're here with your favorite official GonnaGeek.com show. It's your favorite one. We're going to talk today about some crazy geeky happenings in the world of geek. If you're not familiar with us, we do stream live every Monday at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. That's 5:45 p.m. Pacific. You can find us over on GonnaGeekNetwork.com. And as of last week, we're happy to say that we are also found on the GFQ network. Disclaimer, we are not from Queens.
I was born in Brooklyn, though, so that's close.
But Stephen, you do have a queen.
That's true. I am the queen. You've cracked the code.
Oh, sorry to out you like that you're the queen of the network. Who's your king?
Obviously you.
Oh, sweet. I'm royalty. Do I get a scepter and a crown?
Where's your tiara? You gotta have a tiara.
Stephen gets the tiara.
Well, I think, though, that SP is the prince.
The Fresh Prince of Gonna Geek?
Sure, why not?
Does that mean he's going to rap for us? Because if SP is going to rap, I'm just going to lean my chair back and watch.
You do not want it. No, that is never, ever, ever going to happen. I didn't even know what hip-hop was until a few years ago.
Oh, man, you sound so old right now. So old.
I know, I am old. This is all plastic surgery and hair dye, guys. It's just, the beard. I'm going to have to color my beard this year.
Back in my day, we used the reel-to-reel tapes.
You know what? At work today, we were actually talking about the black and white TVs with the dials that you had to actually twist your arm backwards in order to flip all the UHF channels. We were actually talking about that at work today.
You know, it's funny. I remember my first TV that I had, like not me personally, but the family did, was the cabinet TV. What happened to the televisions within furniture? That was amazing.
My mother-in-law had one, and when I moved her into her condo from her original place, she insisted on bringing the cabinet TV with her. So I'm like, okay, I brought it in. But remember when TV switched from analog to digital just a little while ago?
I do.
Guess what? Guess what didn't work anymore? The cabinet TV. So guess who had to finally get rid of the cabinet TV, which weighed about a gazillion pounds?
Did you get rid of it?
Prince Stargate Pioneer.
Fresh Prince Stargate Pioneer of GonnaGeek.com.
I'm sorry. I did not mean to slight you in your title, Fresh Prince Stargate Pioneer of GonnaGeek.com.
You know, I just got to say that now I got to make new business cards because he totally needs to have business cards that says Vice President of Fresh Princeness.
Vice President of Freshness. That's what it just needs to be. Just
They won't be
freshness.
handed out to any. Matter of fact, I'll just burn them in my fire pit. Nobody will ever see them.
What? That's blasphemy.
You, my friend, have changed. There was a time that you handed those out to everybody.
I'm not sure you're as fresh as we think you are, if that's what you would do with
That's
those
true.
cards.
That's true.
I'm old. Of course I'm not fresh. I probably smell at work, man.
Well, that's a different problem, man. It's called just soap in a shower.
No, when you get, it's like that old people smell. They smell, right?
Like, what is it?
Formaldehyde.
Gold Bond medicated powder and hemorrhoid cream.
All right. Well, on the note of hemorrhoid cream, let's go ahead and move into the news because that's
a great transition.
heck
Come
of a-
on.
heck
Come on,
of a
it's
lot
gold.
better. Today in the news, we're going to go ahead and start off with Chris Ferrell telling us about how Malware Bytes anti-malware has a whole new malware protection suite. It's called the DNA edition, right?
That is true. We have to be aware of all sorts of different malware and potentially even things like DNA. This was a cool story I saw on wired.com. So a little bit of background: when biologists synthesize DNA, they have to take pains not to create or spread a dangerous stretch of genetic code that could be used to create a toxin or infectious disease or something like that. Well, now you've got to be careful because one group of biohackers has demonstrated how DNA can carry a less expected threat, one designed to infect humans, not humans rather, but computers. In new research from the University of Washington that was presented at the Eugenics Security Conference last week, a group of researchers showed that it is possible to encode malicious software into physical strands of DNA. Why is this important? Well, when a gene sequencer analyzes the resulting data, it becomes a program that then corrupts the gene sequencing software and takes control of the computer. While it's far from practical for any real spy or criminal, it's something that the researchers argue could become more likely over time as DNA sequencing becomes more commonplace, powerful, and performed by third-party services on sensitive computer systems. So we have a new cybersecurity threat, guys. It's DNA exploits. And how cool is that you can manipulate DNA theoretically to take over a computer?
Is this how we're going to stop the Terminator? Is this how we're going to stop Skynet? We're going to inject some malware DNA into Skynet and just shut it all down?
Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. John Connor's DNA will be sequenced by DNA sequencers in Skynet, and it's going to blow up, but only if we're lucky, because this attack only worked about 37% of the time right now.
That's still pretty good odds. Let's be totally honest
It's
about
a
it.
good proof of concept, and it's kind of interesting and scary at the same time that you can find exploits to things you wouldn't have thought. Because remember, DNA sequencer, DNA decoding and matching, it's all basically breaking things down to zeros and ones, which is basically breaking it down so you can exploit vulnerabilities in computer software. So now you're going to have to start looking at this DNA matching software, this DNA sequencing software, and start patching it to prevent things from getting exploited. It's really kind of cool to me. And one thing that I saw in this article that I thought was really cool was they found another hazard of writing the code into the physical object. If a program decoded it backwards, it didn't work properly. So it only worked if you decoded it in one certain order. So they're talking about an improved version of the attack that would be a palindrome version of this sequence. And I don't know why, that just makes me geek out a little bit. Like, they're going to make a palindrome of infectious code basically within DNA sequences. Ridiculous. It's insane. And it's completely not viable right now for screwing with DNA matches and things like that. If you think you're going to go to jail because you left blood behind somewhere, it's not like you can taint your blood, so it's going to crash the DNA sequencers. We're not there yet. But that's not to say a few years from now we couldn't be somewhere where you spread something in your DNA sample you leave behind and it screws it up so it doesn't work right.
I'm just going to go ahead right now and and just start the hashtag now. Hashtag SP is innocent. Let's just get ahead of the ball on that one. So.
Right, because you know what I'm thinking right now of all the ways I can air gap a virus into a malicious code into another computer system. And especially with biometrics on the rise right now, we don't know, in a couple of years, DNA sequencing might be in there with biometrics just to unlock your phone or something like that. Yeah, like prick a little blood and that's the way you get into your phone. And test your blood sugar content level all at the same time. You know,
there's a lot of processing power that goes behind DNA. There's not really anything like rapid DNA that I've heard of so far. I mean, I think the quickest I've seen commercially has been like 30 to 45 minutes to do DNA matching on a very limited scale to basically be like, does this sample match this sample? So if your phone is locked out with your DNA and it takes 45 minutes to get in current day, that could be tough. And I'm not sure how you would stage that to work properly on a cell phone in the short term. Now, if we're talking like 20 years from now, maybe. I mean, we're going to have like Gattaca basically if that happens.
We won't have phones in 20 years. It'll be just little chips in our noses.
Right here. And I'm going to have a holographic display over my right eye like the Borg. And I'm going to be like, resistance is futile.
Or little contact you put in there.
I can't wear
That's
contacts.
cute that you guys think that the cyborgs won't have taken over by then.
You're a cyborg.
No, you be a cyborg then. Biogenetic cyborg, but a cyborg.
Sorry, the Cylons
My
not
good
taking
friend
over.
Naki is currently a cyborg, though. So there's that.
She's got a chip in her, huh?
She's got a robotic spine, so we call her a Cylon.
All right. Well, speaking of Cylons, I heard that the reason that the Voyager spacecraft was made 40 years ago was to hide the only known true cyborg, Borg, and Cylon tech. Isn't that right?
We had to get them off the Earth somehow. We had to try to send them home. So we just made up this whole thing about the probing the solar system and trying to send them on their way all at the same time. So, you know, it's NASA's working overtime there. But the reason why I want to talk about Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 is it's their 40th anniversary, guys. This week after we record this podcast, Voyager 2 launched on August 20th, which is incidentally the day before the eclipse on the 21st. We haven't really talked about that, but on Sunday, August 20th will be the 40th anniversary of Voyager 2. And then over on September 5th will be the 40th anniversary of Voyager 1. Now, the two were launched part like that because they were taking advantage of different orbital trajectories from different planets to get from point A to point B. So as you remember, Voyager is probably as important to space exploration as the Apollo 11 landing on the moon. Yeah, that's how important these two probes are. We haven't talked about it on SP Space Symposium. I will be running down Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 in the future. But for now, let's talk about the 40th anniversary. So Voyager 1 flew by Jupiter and Saturn, and Voyager 2 took advantage of the unusual planetary alignment that was existing in 1977 and went by Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So they're still flying. They don't just stop. They keep on going. And each one of them has gone on for billions and billions of miles. And they're both active today. Voyager 1 became the first human-made object ever to reach interstellar space in August 2012. And Voyager 1 is about 13 billion miles from Earth and has spent the last 5 years in interstellar space. Yeah, it has left the solar system. They declared it in the interstellar medium in 2012. And it's right now investigating what the cosmic radiation is out there. And they basically come to the conclusion that the Earth, the solar system, is protected by this heliosphere around the solar system, which is like the Van Allen radiation belts around Earth, and it protects us against cosmic radiation. So the amount of cosmic rays that are measured outside of the heliosphere are about 4 times more abundant than they are here on Earth. So that's we're only getting about 25% of those rays once they get here as they are once they enter the heliosphere. Now, Voyager 2 is about 11 billion miles from Earth, and in the next couple of years will enter into that interstellar space. And it's when it crosses the boundary, we're going to be able to measure the interstellar medium from 2 different locations at the same time. Now, a lot of people think the interstellar medium there's nothing out there. Well, wrong, because the remnants of the supernova explosion that really created our solar system that we have today, the planets, the sun, and the moon and everything, really came from that supernova, and some of the remnants are way out there. So it's measuring them. as long as it can. Now, these things have been going on for 40 years, guys. 40 years. Imagine getting a car 40 years ago that is still running on the original tank of gas. How much gas do you think you'd have left right now, Chris?
3/4 of a tank. I'm from the future. We use Mr. Fusion for everything.
I see.
So-
Well, there's no bananas in space.
Was that a 1977 GMC Sierra? Is that what that was?
They did have GMC trucks back in 1977. So, yeah, basically. So, what they were powered with back then are RTGs, or radio isotope thermoelectric generators, which you might have seen if you saw The Martian. Yes, these RTGs are real. They are hot and they are radioactive. So you don't really want to spend too much time around them without shielding. And they've been working for 40 years. Unfortunately, they lose about 4 watts of power every year. So these people, just like the guys in The Martian were doing, they actually have to go back into the 1970s technical documentation on Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, as well as speak to the original engineers and people that worked on the Voyager from Mission Control, just to keep these things going and to optimize the efficiency of the power. But even with that, they're slated to run out of power in about the 2030 time frame. So they'll keep on going. Once again, they're not going to stop because they run out of power. It's like they're just going through space. You know, you throw a baseball and it doesn't stop unless it hits something. So they're going to go on and on and on. So in 4 decades in space, they have set many records. So first of all, they are the first and the only right now spacecraft to enter into interstellar space. We haven't sent anything else that has reached the interstellar space. And that, of course, is Voyager 1. Voyager 2 is the first and only spacecraft so far to fly by all 4 outer planets. And then I take umbrage to that because I do consider Pluto to be a 5th outer planet, and Voyager 2 did not fly by Pluto. So there you go.
Hail Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, don't get me started on Neil deGrasse.
Hail Neil. All
Mm.
hail Neil.
All hail Neil.
You guys are starting to sound like Planet of the Apes.
I was talking about our Gonna Geek Financial Nerf Center correspondent, Neil. That's who I was talking about.
Of course he was.
I wonder if he's got more Nerf footballs this time of year.
It's almost football season, so maybe.
It is football season. The preseason games have started.
That doesn't count.
So these spacecraft have done a ton of great things, and I think, in my mind anyway, they are just as good as the Apollo level landing. Well, maybe just a tad less, but right up there with the Apollo 11 moon landing. So just 40 years in space. 40 years. Congrats. I want to congratulate everybody that has worked on these programs for the last 40 plus years to make these things, to launch these things, to operate them, to work the instruments, to work the scientific discovery plans, to actually analyze the data. You guys rock, and you have made humanity better. Thank you very much.
Do you want to know the beautiful thing about this?
I'm scared.
When you pitch a lie, nobody really knows the truth. So, you know, these things, this isn't actually in space. It's a government conspiracy. That's all. Just make up all the data. Hey, look at all this data that's here. Wow, look at it. It's sending crazy things. 40
Steven,
years.
Just go live in your mugaloo.
What's a mugaloo?
I don't know. That's weird.
It's an igloo made out of mud.
Oh, I thought you said mug. That's why I was confused.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it made out of like mugs?
It's
Coffee
like
mugs?
Okay, I got you now. All right. Well, anyways, those of us who know the truth know the truth.
The truth is out there, man.
Almost as true as death spinners.
Death spinners. So what do you guys think about fidget spinners? You guys got any? Who's got a fidget spinner?
My kids both have one. One of them is already broken and he's had it for like 3 weeks, but
Is it a Bluetooth one with batteries in it?
It's not, which is good from my understanding.
That's good. Your house is not going to catch on fire then, Steven. And why I brought that up? Yeah. A United States government body has released safety guidance for battery-operated fidget spinners following instances of them catching fire. Number one, Why the hell is your fidget spinner battery operated? I don't understand.
Well, because they light up, and so it's really cool when you like spin these things with the LED lights. They make cool little patterns on them.
So what, you use Bluetooth to program what the pattern's going to be as it spins or something?
You could, yeah, why not?
Interesting. This is filling some gaps for me. So the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission is advising people to avoid charging the Bluetooth-enabled fidget spinners overnight. Why is that? Because back in June, a Bluetooth-enabled fidget spinner that played music reportedly burst into flames after being left to charge for 45 minutes in a family home in Alabama. The gadget
Wait a minute. Was this thing made by Samsung?
It's the
This is
Fidget spinner.
Watch 2016.
Yes, I love that bump. So it might have been made by Samsung. It could have been using a Samsung battery. Probably not. Let's not cast aspersions there. Who knows? But the gadget did leave a burn on the carpet. It was discovered by the family before it caused more damage. Also, back in May, another battery-operated fidget spinner caught fire after being charged for less than half an hour in Michigan. The toy had been sold without its own charger, so the family used one from another device. So, guys, if it's the same thing we've seen with these hoverboards and things like that, if you're buying the El Cheapo fidget spinner and the El Cheapo hoverboard that doesn't have the UL Labs certification or anything like that on it, you might want to be careful plugging it in. Don't leave it unattended because it could just spontaneously combust and burn down your house. Sorry.
A lot of stuff can, like this power brick that I got my wife. Can you guys see on the YouTube? You see the deformation in the case there?
Yes. Is your battery swollen?
So she brings this to me and she says, "Oh, it's still working fine, but is this okay?" I'm like, "No, it's not okay. Stop that. Don't use it anymore. You don't want to burn down the house, do you?" She's like, "Well," I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah, you don't want to play around with swollen batteries. And the worst is when you have like a cell phone and don't realize it. Like when I had my Nexus 5, it was always in a case, and all of a sudden my battery life just got terrible. Like it hit 40% and the phone would just turn off, and I was like, what the crap? And then I took it out of the case and I was like, what is this giant hump on the back of my phone? And I was like, oh, my battery's real swollen. And I had blown out a couple cells or something on there, but it's a legitimate thing. And you've got to be careful when your batteries have a structural deficiency like that. They're more apt to, I don't know, combust, explode, break apart, leak acid, things like that. You don't want to screw around with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And in the chat, though, we've got an interesting point. We have the one and only Anthony Bachman saying, I thought millennials powered fidget spinners. And wouldn't that be... first off, I think Chris is right. I think the Bluetooth is for other reasons. But wouldn't that be funny, though? Just like, you're tired of spinning your fidget spinner. Act now, and you get this motorized spinner. And it's just like motorized, just holding it. It'd be awesome.
Well, I mean, we could make something with a little DC motor. That's easy enough to do. Just like zzz, and spin it right up.
I prefer a Marvel motor, though.
There's no... Oh, my brain.
I'm partial to Image myself. I mean...
I hate you guys. I hate you all.
Well, that's quite interesting. But hey, you know what? Now I got a new bump to make. That's clearly what's going to have to happen here. Clearly, I will have to make a Fidget Spinner Watch 2017 bump.
Oh, I thought you meant I hate you guys bump.
But that one too, that works too. Why not? Speaking of hating us, let's go ahead and talk briefly. And by briefly, I mean in depth.
How can you hate us?
You hated me. That's what it was.
Yeah. I've hated you for years, though.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about a little project. You might have heard about it. It's called the Justice League. This is an up-and-coming indie flick from DC Comics. You can check that out in select theaters coming soon. Very select theaters, though. I heard very limited run. And long story short, so the Justice League movie, what it is we talked a couple weeks ago about how the reshoots are going on longer because we thought that was hilarious because then you're getting a mustache problem, and go back and listen to another episode. And these reshoots are going on. We talked a little bit about whether this was normal or abnormal. And to Chris's credit, reshoots are usually a part of projects, and they're usually there to help fix a couple of things, make sure that we can tweak a couple of scenes and whatnot. And And we were debating the point of whether these were abnormal. Well, there has been a plethora of news that came out this last weekend that supports that this is looking like abnormal research, that there is a lot more going into these reshoots than originally anticipated. There is a actor named Joe Morton who in this, he ends up playing the Dr. Silas Stone, who is Cyborg's father in Justice League. And he has come out with a quote saying, well, the stuff that I had to do were just really small little bits and pieces, nothing necessarily having to do with the tone. I know that with Ray, the young man who plays Victor, there were some adjustments that they made in terms of the tone of the character. And he also went on to say that they were being done to, quote, lighten up the film because the studio deemed them to be, quote, too dark. That's very interesting. Now, on the heels of this, we also had a bit of a cryptic message from Ben Affleck, who has spoken out about the research. And he said, it's a little bit unorthodox. And by the way, Ben Affleck, of course, plays Batman, because Ben Affleck is Batman. He says, Zack had a family tragedy. So Zack Snyder, who was the original director, and stepped off, which was horrible. For the movie, the best person we could have possibly found was Joss, which is, again, for you listeners, Joss Whedon is the one that did Avengers. So yeah, he's the one doing the reshoots. He said, we got really lucky that he stepped in. Justice League is an interesting project of two directors, both with kind of unique visions, both with really strong takes. I've never had that experience before making a movie. I have to say, I really love working with Zack. And then he also goes on to say that this is a really nice time to work in DC. They're hitting their stride. They're getting it right. It's starting to feel like it's really working. Yeah.
They're hitting their stride after one movie, Wonder Woman. They're hitting really, I don't know there, Ben.
Yeah.
I think that's stretching it.
Okay, so there's one other thing before we dissect this, and that it's that monkeyfightingrobots.com said that apparently, according to this outlet, that the original ending featured Darkseid, which of course is a very large villain, and it featured Darkseid coming to Earth, and the new footage apparently downplays the impact of this supervillain. So that's quite a large change if that's the case. And when we really dissect all of this stuff coming out, it is very much indicating that there is quite the tonal shift happening. And, you know, obviously this Joe Morton quote that I first led off with, he's a smaller actor in the context of this film. I actually think Ben Affleck's quotes, even though they're more cryptic, are much bigger because of the fact that he says, quote, both with kind of unique visions. I think that that is a big flag. And if he's seeing that within the reshoots, that indicates that there's a very different tone with the reshoots.
This reminds me of a song from Adult Swim. I'm just going to say, Too Many Cooks. And you guys can go and watch the rest for there. But it's kind of accurate. You've got two directors that seemingly have different visions potentially for where you want to go with it. It's the same concern I have with the Star Wars Han Solo anthology movie. We've got Lord Miller who have left and Ron Howard stepping in, who has presumably a different vision than them. It's very hard to take these two visions and mesh them up into one thing. And while I have confidence in Joss Whedon going in on that, oh boy, it's going to be a mess. And I don't know. I must ask you a question though, Stephen. Do you have faith in these reshoots to fix everything?
You know what? I have more faith in the editing process coupled with these reshoots.
That's fair. Do you have faith in the CGI they're going to use to remove the mustache?
Oh man, don't get me started on the mustache. That's just like, again, Suncast when we talked about the mustache, that was ridiculous. Like, why is the other film not using a fake mustache? That's
because that's an FU to Justice League on that one. They're like, we signed this guy to have a mustache. We're not going to make him put on a prosthetic so it doesn't look real. You guys figure out what to do because you overran. It's the whole mustache controversy to me is hilarious. And Henry Cavill posting about it on Facebook was even more hilarious.
Well, and one of the other things that I find really interesting about this whole quote is the whole dark side villain thing, because that means that they set it up. Zack Snyder set it up in a situation that he really wanted to think that was the direction that they should go. And now they're coming in, they're like, you know what, let's back the reins off on that as far as the future of the franchise goes. If they're changing it to downplay the dark side introduction at the end, if you ever introduce a villain at the end of a movie, it's for future installments. To be now downplaying something you're introducing allegedly towards the end, that's not good.
It could be that they're taking a note from Marvel and maybe doing a mid-credit or a post-credit scene to introduce the villain at the end versus in the story. So that could be it as well. But guys, this amount of reshoots, it is August 14th. This movie is coming out in 3 months. It's coming out in November. They've got a lot of work to do in 3 months, not only to create the movie, but then distribute it. And I know mostly it's electronic now versus the old actual film, but still, it's a lot of distribution that has to happen. They need time. They have to get fronts out to the media. They have to do media. They have to have clips ready to roll for late night shows and stuff like that. Time's running out on DC right now, and I hope that they get their act together, but it's not looking good right now.
Do you think they're going to make their target release date, guys?
They have to. I mean, you rent theaters for this. You actually rent blocks of theater. It's not just that, hey, we've got a movie come out and then movie theaters go, okay, we'll show it on 15 screens. You actually have to barter how many screens are showing this movie. So,
yeah, but it's Justice League. People are going to not care, really. They're going to make, okay, yeah, we'll shift it in the schedule. It's no big deal, because they already know, much like Batman v Superman, regardless of the quality of the film, Batman v Superman and the characters from that put butts in seats. So I don't think it matters if they push it back to try and make it better. Yeah, you might get some token resistance from theaters, but they still know they're going to make their money whenever this comes out, because butts are going to be in seats, because Wonder Woman's a hot movie right now and it's got Batman in it and the rest of this Justice League they've been trying to set up. Butts will be in seats, whether it's good or not, who knows?
Yeah, but do they have the screens available? You're talking major motion picture prime time. Yeah, it's a couple weeks after Thor Ragnarok comes out, but you got this. You've got other stuff. There's a Star Wars movie coming out, right? Well, they don't have that much time to play with.
I'm not talking like sliding it right like 2 weeks or something. I'm talking you slide it out to like February or March or something like that, or to summer, things like that. Because remember, it's Warner Brothers, it's Batman, it's Superman, it's Wonder Woman, it's the big three. Movie theaters can bitch and moan all they want, but they're going to be like, I guess we have no choice. What are we going to do? Be like, no, screw you. You can't be in my theater. I don't like money. I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, if the producers say, yeah, we're moving it, it's done.
I'm going to go contrary.
Ooh, I like this. Let's fight, Steven.
I think that they have to do it at this point, and they will do it. And the reason why I think that is because they are on the heels of Wonder Woman, and we have heard about all of these troubles with Justice League. They have to make this target to give them a chance at all of continuing that Wonder Woman momentum. And I think that pushing it out 6 months kills that, because by then it's faded and all of these other Marvel movies have come in. So I think they have to hit it, and they will hit it. And I think the product will be not great if the options are a not great product or a great product moved out. They will go with the not great quicker. But I'm hoping editors are wonderful people. Let's take a moment to appreciate editors of all kinds. It can be big movie production. It could be just little video guys who podcast every Monday. All editors are great.
Well, most editors are great.
Sorry, I didn't hear. SP, were you going to say something? You were silent there for a minute.
I see how it is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's the rest of the DC slate that they got to watch out for too, because moving into 2018, you have other comic book movies that are coming out. You got Black Panther over on Marvel. You've got a Deadpool 2 coming out. So it's a very limited window that they actually have to get this movie out. And in this particular case, it's like two weeks, because Justice League is slated to come out on November 17th. Star Wars comes out December 15th. I'm sorry, guys. Star Wars is going to take all the screens, and Justice League isn't going to have any. And then they've got to get the next movie out before the next DC movie comes out. But here's the
thing. The DC schedule is screwed right now. They still can't get a director for The Flash. The Flash is on its fourth director now or something like that. There's another script go around on it. Aquaman, you're not hearing a bunch on. Everything is banked on Justice League. And while I tend to agree it's not going to slide, I could see them having the muscle to be like, yeah, we need to slide this movie right. But if this movie is no good, they don't know what they're doing. They hit it out of the park with Wonder Woman, not expecting to do so. Evidently, they're shifting the focus on Justice League. Look at the marketing materials for it. The first trailer we saw, very Batman-centric, very little mentions of the team, things like that. The Comic-Con trailer, very Wonder Woman-focused. And all of the promotional material going out now is focusing Diana Prince and Wonder Woman in what's being written up about it. So I think they've seen that they have to try and cash in on Wonder Woman there. I
agree with that. Okay, I'm going to have to backpedal a little bit. Aquaman doesn't come out until December of 2018, so they do have about 12 months to play around with. So it's possible that they release this next summer. Wow.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're do that. Yeah, well, I don't think they're going to do it. I wanted to raise the opportunity and the possibility they would. I mean, I could see where it might be a good idea, because do you really want to have a 2-week lead on Star Wars and then still get crushed in the box office because nothing's going to beat Star Wars? I'm not saying that as a Star Wars fanboy. Let's just look at the box office numbers for Star Wars. It doesn't matter what you are. You could be Marvel, you could be DC, you could be Star Trek. You're going to lose to Star Wars right now. There's nothing beyond that.
At least until Star Wars proves that they can't do it anymore. Yeah.
Well, some would argue Rogue One did that, but that was an anthology flick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's a main flick, you're crushing it. You're going to get that $1 trillion or whatever, $1 billion.
So I don't know what DC is going to do, but I could see multiple different directions the way things could go. I tend to think, despite my playing devil's advocate earlier, we'll see it come out in its regular release window. And I hope it's good, because while I'm not a huge DC Comics fanboy or anything like that, it's good when comic book movies are good because it helps everyone.
Yeah, I do really think. In the chat, Anthony is bringing up some release dates of different comic book related movies, not just DC, but I really think they're going to stick. I don't think they're going to move it. So we'll see.
Agreed.
Our final piece of news in our extra section comes from our colleague, Paul Thurrott. He is our GFQ network colleague, Paul Thurrott. How do you like that? See what I did there?
I heard it via Tom Merritt this morning.
Okay, so. fair enough. But it was actually first with Paul Thurrott. He obtained an internal memo from Microsoft. Now, what is this about? Well, you may have heard a little bit that Consumer Reports has recently been talking about reliability issues with the Surface Pro tablets. That's right. There's been a lot of problems allegedly with them, and they have even reversed a couple of things to do with their recommendations as far as the Surface Pros go. Now, Microsoft actually dismissed the recent Consumer Reports reliability rating, where they had said that they surveyed 90,000 tablet and laptop owners and found that 25% of Surface users had encountered issues by the end of the second year of ownership. So this obviously had them come out and talk a little bit about this. Well, Paul Thurrott did end up obtaining an internal memo from Microsoft that outlined a chart that showed the return rate, and it basically is supporting what is being said with Consumer Reports. It's an interesting chart. If you just go and you go to geeks.link/Surface Pro, I'll go ahead and put it there. Yeah, it's interesting to see everything that's going on. Now, what they actually in this memo said, the corporate vice president Panos Panay, is that how you say his name? Panos? I don't know how to pronounce it. He says, it's always important for us to learn more from our customers and how they view their ownership journey with our products. Feedback like this, brackets, from Consumer Reports, stings, but pushes us to obsess more about our customers. So it's interesting. There's internal memos happening. Obviously, there seems to be some issues with the Surface Pro. Now, SP, you said you heard this elsewise. What was your hearing on all this?
It's basically the same thing. It was on Tom Ayers Flash News on my Amazon device this morning. And he said that, 25% of people surveyed from Consumer Reports had issues within the first 2 years of ownership, but Microsoft was trying to refute that. And from personal experience, I can say that I've had issues with my Surface device, but it's a Surface RT, so I don't think that really counts for anything. It was a first generation Surface tablet, and it didn't have an actual full operating system of Windows. So of course it's going to have problems. And I got it just as a cheap, at that point in time, soundboard to use while podcasting because I didn't have my iPad mini back then. So did that all work out? Not really. I mean, it was a comics book reader for me for a little bit, but in the end, it's useless right now. It doesn't have any drivers on it to use with like a Logitech camera or anything. It's literally useless to me at this point in time. So, but that's a Surface RT. These other people with Surface Pros, with Surface 2s and 3s and 4s, if they spent how much are these things now? Like $1,500? It's like Apple prices for these things, right? To get them brand new. It's just too much money to spend on something that has a 25% chance of something going wrong with it in 2 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you over the sound of playing with my original Surface Pro tablet.
You know what? We're going to have a new betting pool on the Gonna Geek show on how long it takes Chris to Bill Belichick that one. So,
Well, I mean, in all fairness, this 25% failure rate probably shouldn't surprise anyone if they've been on the Surface any of the Surface Reddit threads or anything like that. That there are issues. Now, more often than not, they're not hardware issues. They're software issues, it seems like, from on Reddit, where it's a driver that does wacky, weird things to some tablets where you get stuttery, juddery screens, things like that. And they do get fixed eventually, but valid criticism. You don't hear about those kind of failure rates with iPads, and you don't hear about it with Android tablets because nobody uses Android tablets.
Yeah. I will say, though, that the whole Surface Pro thing has been kind of fun to watch. Like, actually, the whole Surface thing has been interesting. Right from the minute that they launched, they launched with the whole Snap campaign. And it was like, they did the little dance and everything. Everybody's like, what kind of campaign is this? I want a tablet. I don't want something I can dance with. And then they did the NFL sponsorship, which led to everybody calling them iPads, like all of the on-air talent calling them iPads, plus multiple coaches denouncing them, including, well, as I mentioned, Bill Belichick, who mid-game hucked it across the field, which is amazing. But it just like so many things went wrong with the Surface and all of its campaign. And I always pull for it, but there's always problems.
So I will say, in my house, I have a Surface Pro Original, which is literally just my soundboard and backup recording device right now. It's secondhand. I bought it for like $200 off Craigslist. Not had a single problem with it. Upgrade to Windows 10, no issue. And I've got a Surface Pro 4 upstairs with the M3 processor, basically the cheapest version. It's a web browsing device and a document tool, office tool for me. Never really had any issues with it. I had one update that went really weird, and I had to roll back and then do the updates again, but not anything different than what I've had with any other Windows device. So while I haven't had any issues, doesn't surprise me that others have, because like I said, read the Reddit threads. There's a lot of people there that have talked of their issues.
Yeah.
Great device, though. I love mine.
Awesome. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap up our news. Let's go ahead and move into SP Space Symposium after I remind you that we're part of the Gonna Geek Network. And also on the Gonna Geek Network is this little show that you might have heard called Better Podcasting. The show is called Better Podcasting. It's hosted by one amazing person and his lackey named Stargate Pioneer. These two people talk each week about the latest in the world of podcasting and have some tips and tricks, and it's angled towards a hobby podcaster. So if you are a podcaster and you want to hear a little bit more about podcasting, check out betterpodcasting.com, which will take you over to GonnaGeekNetwork.com, and check out all of the episodes there because they are talking to you, the hobbyist podcaster. We don't care where you host your media. We don't care. We don't judge. We're not going to sit there and slam your media host for hours on end and multiple tweets. So check out Better Podcasting. Okay, we judge a little bit on that show, especially if you're on SoundCloud. But let's go ahead.
I was gonna say, really? I mean, yeah.
Okay, well, we judge a bit. We judge a bit. So, SP, what do you got for SP Space Symposium?
This is the 14th version of SP Space Symposium, and for the previous 13 versions, I have talked about space telescopes. This is the penultimate version of my space telescopes. SP Space Symposium. So there's one more after this. This is the penultimate. This is the second to last, and it's about the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope. Yep, the Fermi, but it wasn't always known as Fermi. It started out as GLAST. Yep, GLAST, NASA's Gamma Ray Large Area Space Telescope. And this is straight from the media kit from 2008. The GLAST is a powerful space observatory that will, 1, explore the most extreme environments in the universe where nature harnesses energy far beyond anything possible on Earth. Sounds a little bit like Justice League to me, but okay. 2, search for signs of new laws in physics that composes the mysterious dark matter. Okay, this is sounding more like Marvel to me. Number 3, explain how black holes accelerate immense jets of material to nearly light speed. Guys, this is Star Wars stuff right here. Number 4, help crack the mysteries of the stupendously powerful explosions known as gamma ray bursts. If you are a pyrotechnics freak, if you like fireworks, if you like cannons, if you like explosives, this is your space telescope. And number 5, answer long-standing questions across a broad range of topics, including solar flares, pulsars, and the origins of cosmic rays. This is an exciting little space telescope. Let me tell you guys. NASA designed the mission of GLAST with a 5-year lifetime and a goal of 10 years of operation. It was launched in June 11th, 2008. And at the time, it bore the name Gamma Ray Large Area Space Telescope, or GLAST. In August of that same year, 2008, NASA renamed GLAST to Fermi in honor of Professor Enrico Fermi, who passed away in 1954 at the age of 53 and was a pioneer in high energy physics. Yeah, we are talking gamma ray bursts, guys. This is the most explosive, the most energy that we have seen in the universe to date. And it was launched aboard a Delta rocket from Cape Canaveral, which explains its orbital inclination, which is about 25 degrees. You get about 23 degrees of an inclination out of Florida when you launch out of Cape Canaveral. So it's about optimized to that. And it's going around in an orbit that's about 330 miles altitude. It goes between perigee and apogee between 320 and 340 miles up. So it's almost circular and it's in low Earth orbit. Now, the launch mass was 9,487 pounds, which is about the same weight as two 2018 GMC Sierra 4x4s.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, there you go. Now, the operator is NASA. It is in conjunction with a couple of our foreign space partners. Now, the payload, it has two primary sensing instruments. One is called the LAT, or the Large Area Telescope, and one is called the GBM, or the Glass Burst Monitor. It is looking for gamma rays. It is looking for those bright flashes, those high energy, notable things on the horizon. And in the 5 years of operation, it successfully completed its first 5 years, and then it was given an extension to 2018. And after 2018, they're going to take a look at the consumables left on board, the health of the satellite, and see what they can do with the instruments from there. But for right now, 2018 is the end of its second 5-year missions. There have been no publicly announced plans beyond that, but there's probably some plans going on within NASA on what they're going to do that. Now, what has Fermi actually done lately? Well, guess what, guys? We talked about this. Fermi helped close in on the origins of gravitational waves. So in addition to sensing all these gamma ray bursts, in addition to looking at cosmic rays, it's actually able to sense the origin of gravitational waves. This is so cool. So if you remember, we talked about this a few months ago. Astrophysicists in 2015 made history when they detected gravitational waves, which are the elusive ripples in space-time that were first theorized by Albert Einstein as part of his theory of general relativity in 1916. Now, back on September 14th, 2015, the Advanced Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, or LIGO, detected a disturbance at the very fabric of space-time, and it was produced by 2 black holes, each about 30 times the mass of the sun. So these giant, huge black holes going at it. And they collided about 1.3 billion years ago. And it's been heralded as confirmed physical proof that Einstein's theory was correct, that gravity is indeed interwoven with matter and energy, and that an exciting new era of astronomical observation awaits, and possibly jump drives. However, pinpointing the origins of the waves was not easy. LIGO scientists narrowed it down to an arc of sky which spanned about 600 square degrees. It's a little like searching for a needle in an area the size of the United States. So, fortunately, though, we had Fermi, and it did kind of notice a little event out there. And it was able to reduce the search area to just about 200 square degrees, so a third of the size. So that's pretty good. The bad news is, though, that the burst occurred at such a high angle of degrees to the sensing of the GBM detectors, and it reduced the ability to pinpoint the incident. But the good news is that the Earth blocked much of the burst from Fermi's detection, so the instrument actually wasn't damaged. So that's pretty cool there. So it will continue to try to sense these sort of things, helping the gravitational wave teams and just doing really cool stuff. This is cutting edge stuff here with Fermi, and it is going to go down in history as one of the great space telescopes because of its consolidation of gamma ray bursts and gravitational waves. This is one to remember, guys. It's really important. So, what do you guys think of Fermi? Do you like the explosions? Do you like the big booms?
Chris want big boom.
Is this
Sorry, I was paraphrasing Jamie Heineman from the Mythbusters.
I was personally just a little bit wondering how the fidget spinner boom works into it.
They put a fidget spinner on the telescope. It shoots them into space and waits for them to explode and captures footage of it.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So,
Actually, in 2011, the people that tracked the orbits of active space satellites, they were like, we need to notify NASA, because at one point in time, Fermi was supposed to occupy the same space and time of another object that was, I can't remember what it was, but it was early on in the space exploration. So it's still orbiting the Earth, but it was decommissioned, like one of the original Explorer rockets and satellites that we put up there. So yeah, they were going to collide. Hey, guys, have you ever been in an intersection which has just undergone a collision of just 2 cars, maybe 2 trucks? And have you seen all the crap that's around the intersection?
I'm always afraid of blowing out a tire on debris when you have to go through something like that.
Right. Well, in this case, it would have been a lot more dangerous than debris, because just imagine all that mass from 2 GMC Sierras just scattered around low Earth orbit. Right.
I see what you did there.
It's actually a big danger to anything that was orbiting around that size, which includes the Hubble, by the way. The Hubble would have been in danger here, and it would have done grave damage. So the ISS, it could have pulled holes in depending on the incidence of the collision and stuff like that. So what they did, what the Fermi team did, is the original rocket that pushed this thing into orbit, what they did is they contracted those big solar panels. They closed off the entrance to the telescope and they fired that engine for 1 second. And that 1 second burn took Fermi out of dangerous pass. And we didn't have any big collision. We didn't have any debris left from Fermi in low Earth orbit. So congratulations to the NASA boys for getting this thing out of the way and not becoming that 2-truck collision in the middle of an intersection.
So it took it out of the danger zone? Is that what we're saying?
That's right, Steven. Danger zone!
I'd play it, but, we'd get taken down. So there you
Can
go.
we call you Archer?
You call him whatever you want. I call him fired.
So thank you very much for that.
I see what he did there.
I didn't because I edited him out. But
what's an edit?
All right. So thank you very much for that, SP. But I do have one question for you.
Quest.
You said that this was the penultimate episode of Space Symposium, right?
For space telescopes. Yeah, I'm going to continue on with probes and landers.
I
but
feel like though you need like to change it. At the chapter mark, you need to like give it an extra title on there. It wasn't like Star Trek. It was Star Trek: The Motion Picture. You need a little subtitle for the next chapter.
SP Space Symposium: The Next Generation.
Yes, I like it. I
was going to say Voyager.
Guys, next time for the final, it is actually going to be my favorite space telescope, and it's not going to be the Hubble because we've already covered that, and sadly, it's not even the James Webb Space Telescope. That would be a strong number 2 to me right now. The Fermi is actually number 3, but it is going to be my favorite. So, well, you know what, Stephen? We need to get this out on Twitter. So, if you think you know what my favorite space telescope is, you need to contact us and let us know. And we'll have a little guessing game until I come back with my next Space Symposium.
You know what it is? It's actually called Stargate Pioneer. It's from the future.
The future is now.
Well, here's a little tease. Stargate Pioneer might or may not have had some personal interaction with this. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, I know which one this is.
I'm scared.
Well, let's go ahead.
Did you lick the telescope before it was launched into space, so your DNA's in space now?
Maybe.
You think that's all he did?
Well, yeah, it's like licking the Liberty Bell. You'd want to do that.
I actually did a lot more to it than just lick it. So there you go.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Just want to go ahead and give a special shout out to everybody who came on by geeks.live today. We had quite a nice full chat room there, including Emily Prokop, M-Beam, Chris Ferrell, don't know who he is, Scott Smith, Mike Howard, aka JPEG Draw. I don't know why I paused there. Albert Sims, Dane, Bachman in brackets, that's Anthony Bachman, and of course, the one and only Stargate Pioneer.
Heather was in there earlier as well.
Was she, or was that just you trying to get in touch with your inner spirit?
My inner New Zealand spirit? Sure, I'll channel that puppy any day of the week and twice on Sundays.
I just love how Steven Shatner did earlier with just the abrupt pause.
I was going to edit it out, but now that you've talked about it, it makes editor Steven happier. So there you go.
I'm here to help, Steven. I'm here to help. Don't fire me.
Awesome. So thanks everybody who came on by. Before we wrap up, we'll just go ahead and do our usual plugs. Let's start off with Stargate Pioneer.
Oh man, this is going to get out before the weekend. So yeah, Gen Con 2017, the 50th version of Gen Con. I'm going to be there Saturday with 3 of our Gonna Geek compadres. And if you want to check out how to make a podcast, we're going to be in the Crown Plaza at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. with 2 panels. So come out and see me, come out and see, more importantly, Michelle from Starling Tribune and Cody and Jonathan Martin from Game Life Balance US.
Awesome. Chris?
What do I want to plug? I guess I don't really have any specific project of my own, but I do want to say make sure you go check out some of the other great shows we have on the Gonna Geek Network. Steven plugged it earlier in the show, but head on over to GonnaGeekNetwork.com. I'm sure you'll be able to find at least one other show that you're going to love.
Awesome. And I'm just going to go ahead and plug everybody over on Twitter, actually. We've had a lot of really good Twitter interaction this past week. So if you're not following us on Twitter, go to twitter.com/GonnaGeek. You can probably find the rest of our Twitter handles from there. They're really easy if you know how to spell our names. It's twitter.com/Stephen Jondrew. It's twitter.com/Stargate Pioneer. And it's twitter.com/The Real Chris? No, it's the Chris Ferrell.
That is correct. There was not enough characters for the real. And sadly, Chris Ferrell is still taken by someone who hasn't tweeted in like 10 years.
For episode 204 of the official GonnaGeek.com show, I'm Stephen Jondrew saying, rock on with your socks on.
And I'm Director SP saying, go find out your favorite space telescope.
And I'm Chris Ferrell saying, when you get the chance to lick a telescope, you lick a telescope.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the GonnaGeek.com show. If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to show@GonnaGeek.com. You can find our entire archive at GonnaGeek.com/show. And while you're there, why not check out all of the other geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network? Want to chime into our live chat? Join us Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen Jondrew of Gonna Geek Productions. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.